So thank you for attending tonight. The Farmer Roundtable series is a monthly gathering for farmers, and it's going to run through April. The focus of this series is market access in the Granite State. Each session highlights a different topic of building and expanding farm markets from retail, wholesale, and marketing, with organizations joining to share resources, answer questions, and connect directly with farmers. I'm Teresa Downey. I work for NOFA, New Hampshire, and I am the Transition to Organic Partnership Program Coordinator. That's a lot of words, so you'll hear me calling it TOP. It's TOPP. And with us tonight is Shayla, who is also going to be monitoring the chat and letting people in and whatnot. So if you do have questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. Tonight, we're going to be hearing from Becky Colpitz at the Littleton Food Co-op, and then Nicole Vernon at Vernon Family Farm in Newfields. And then at the end, we should have time for discussion and hopefully answer some questions. So I'm going to turn it over first to Becky at Littleton Food Co-op in Littleton, New Hampshire. So that's the North Country.
Hi, everyone. So we are a consumer cooperative in Littleton, New Hampshire, and that's in the North Country, like Teresa said. That's above the notch. There are people up here, and there's a thriving economy. We have over 12,000 member owners we pull from the Northeast Kingdom, the North Country. We are also a big tourist town, so some of our members are from Southern New Hampshire. Some of them are from Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York. We've even got members from California, Alaska, all over the place, Hawaii. When they come and visit, they shop at the co-op. Um, so in our 2024 annual report, which is found on our website, which we'll get to in a minute, we we have 175 local vendors. We vested 3,873,086 in local products last year, which comes to 30% of our products are local. And our net sales for 2024 was $19,303,025. So we're a pretty big economic driver in the North Country, especially for the local economy. We focus a lot on local. Um, that's what we love. That's what we do. Uh, we are principle driven. We are value driven, and in our mission, it talks about local. Supporting local is important to our membership. We are also a hybrid store as well, though. So the joke used to be that you could, buy your Fruit Loops and your organic milk in one shop at the Littleton Food Co-op. But so we are a hybrid store. So I wanted to go through the process about connecting with the co-op if you would like to sell. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, this is our main web page, littletoncoop.com. And if you go over to the contact and questions, here's become a vendor. How to become a vendor. This site gives you pretty much everything you need to know about becoming a vendor. We value our local relationships, and we hope that they share our vision of social responsibility, environmental sustainability, and financial viability. Like we said, we're in northern New Hampshire. So for that means New Hampshire, Vermont, but we'll also get into a more specific type of local later. These are our product guidelines. We recommend that you make an appointment with the appropriate department manager or buyer via the phone or email to set up a time to present your products, bring your products in for consideration. It's important, though, that you have the following in order: a distribution plan, a wholesale pricing list, a plan for unsold or expired products, retail ready packaging, if applicable. And packaging should include your business name, your description, and a barcode. If you don't have a barcode, you can talk to the department manager or the operations, and we can either get you guidance or they're willing to figure that out with you. If your product is certified organic, you must bring in a copy of your certification. And if you're cooking your product from home, you must submit your homestead license to the department manager. Ingestible products will require a copy of your liability insurance before consideration can be made. And our members really prefer products that are free from pesticides, chemical fertilizers, GMOs, and artificial colors. We consider products from New Hampshire or Vermont to be local, and we will market them as such. We have little local signs that go on our local products. Products being cleaned and packaged by your facility should be triple washed and packaged ideally in a recyclable or compostable package. We compost all of our extra, like bad produce or things from the deli, meat. We have always had a robust composting program, and being environmentally responsible is really important to us. So, order scheduling and delivery, you work with that specific department manager to come up with an ordering schedule. They may request a weekly availability list. All products must come through the back door receiving or the produce back door and not the front door, or just don't drop them off at the service desk. Delivery can be with UPS, FedEx, or US United Postal Service. They should be in an appropriate container, and all products should be labeled. We do have the right to refuse any products that are not ordered, damaged, in off condition, or short coded. Again, you work with that department manager. That's why it's so important that you come in and talk to them or have some sort of a discussion on Zoom or email to determine pricing. It's important to note that if you sell your product directly to customers via a website or a farm stand or other means, you should avoid competing against our retail price. If customers find a significant savings direct from you, it could negatively impact our store, which might cause your product to be dropped because we're not selling it. We try to come up with a fair price that benefits all sides, and our team is very, very, very happy to discuss the right mix for your product so that everybody is getting compensated fairly. All products must be itemized and totaled on a printed invoice prior to delivery, and this invoice must accompany the product. Again, you determine with your buyer how credits are handled ahead of time. And for more information about payments and credits, please speak with the department manager. So here is our new vendor application. Pretty easy. You can do it all online. We want your business name, your contact name, email, phone number, website. If you don't have a website, just leave a note in this field saying that you don't have a website. Social media, if you have it, your address, a brief profile or description of your business, list some of your current products with size and pricing, and then what category your specific product fits in. And we list pretty much all of our departments. We do list all of our departments here. What are your preferred terms? What's the minimum order? Do you offer a placement discount? What's your credit and return policy? Are you a distributor or a broker? Do any other retailers carry your products? If so, list them. Are your products sold online? If so, where? Do you have business insurance? We will ask for a copy of your insurance for our files if we decide to carry your products. So that's important. Then check if any of these apply. If you're BIPOC, if you're LGBTQ plus, or if you're a woman-owned business, we also use that in marketing. And then also, are any of your products organic, fair trade, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, the list, the whole list. And anything else that we should know. We prioritize local first. The frequently asked questions. It also tells you exactly what local means to us. Products products produced in just the Littleton area, 15 miles, products produced within a 100-mile radius of the co-op, and or products produced in our native state of New Hampshire or in a neighboring state, Vermont, Maine, or sometimes Massachusetts. So those are some of the parameters. Our operation managers and our department buyers use Mabel and Fair. They have copies of the Nova Food and Farm Guide, which is absolutely stunning and beautiful. And they also have the New Hampshire Food Alliance Wholesale Directory as well. There, we also there's also employees at the co-op that are very locavore, and so many times they get a connection started. We just got an apple producer in with some efforts from a couple of us that really want to see this product in our store. And as my role as a community outreach coordinator, I table at I'll be at the winter conference for NOFA. I'll be at the New Hampshire Food Alliance. I table at several other um, events that happen. I'm always looking for local producers. We tend to be involved in anything happening up in the North Country that has to do with farmers. So we are always keeping an eye on our local producer contacts. And other things that you might want to know. So clarity of expectations for both parties are just so important. Your, as a farmer or a producer, your expectations and the co-op's expectations. We love local. We're very proud to be a customer of local products and sell them in the store. And customer service on both ends are really important. So developing that positive business relationship goes a long way. And that's it, unless you have any questions.
Yeah, you're welcome to put questions in the chat and Becky can answer them, or we're a small group. If you want to unmute and just verbally ask, that would be fine too. So the next we're going to be talking with Nicole at Vernon Family Farm, and they are down in Newfields on the seacoast, and they're a farm store. And I'm going to let you say more, Nicole.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Nicole Vernon, and I am the co-owner of Vernon Family Farm. Vernon Family Farm is a pastured livestock farm. We're a first-generation family farm. So my husband and I started what is now known as Vernon Family Farm in 2014. My evolution and my responsibilities here at the farm have changed greatly, especially in the last 2 years. I was working off the farm for the first decade or so as a Spanish teacher, and now I'm full-time at the farm. So I feel like every day, every month, each year so far has been a humbling experience of learning a lot, getting my butt kicked at times, but also being really proud of the progress that we have made here at our farm store. So we have always been, for the most part, a direct-to-consumer operation. We have a farm store on our property. It's quite small, but we tend to have approximately 50 small farmers and small businesses represented in our space. The majority of our sales are made up of food that we actually grow and raise here at the farm. So we produce non-GMO pasture-raised chicken, pasture and forested pork, lamb. We grow quite a bit of garlic, and we also have beef. And we like to be very transparent about the beef. We flip beef for our customers and for our farm store. So we're buying in head of cattle that we're bringing to the processor. And I think something that makes our store space really unique and really special is that my family eats all of the food that we sell in our farm store. And so that means, in my opinion, that we can be very good advocates of the food that we're selling. We know how things taste, we know what goes well with what, and we're able to have really wonderful relationships that we've built with our customers and our clients and our vendors so that we can stock the store with products that we know are going to move. Additionally, I would say that we also, similarly to what Becky stated, we really focus on local products. The majority of our products are New Hampshire grown and raised products. We do extend into the greater New England area. And right now, I can only think of one brand and one product that breaks that rule, which is a product out of New Jersey that we just love so much. First Field, they're a really great tomato sauce and pizza sauce company that we still continue to order, even though they're technically outside of like the radius of what we call local. So that's a little bit of a background around Vernon Family Farm, sort of who we are. We're a very small team, and so our customers quickly establish a relationship with both Jeremiah, who's in the field full time, my husband, me, who's in the store full time, and then a couple of employees that we have that help us out from time to time. As far as, talking a little bit about vendor relationships, I would say that we don't have quite as of a robust sort of like protocol or policy in place, like what Becky has sort of outlined for us. But what we do have really works for us. And I would say if you are a vendor in New England looking to get your product in Vernon Family Farm, the first thing that you do is you just reach out. Many times we have vendors that reach out to us via email. Sometimes they physically come to the farm store. That's always, as the person who's doing the farm store ordering, that's always my preferred method, is just come see me in the farm store, introduce yourself, bring your product and price list, bring some samples to share. Everybody loves samples. So bring some samples to share and tell me the story of what your products are. Sometimes a vendor might come with all of those things and they're just showing up not at the right time. And that might be because, there's a line in the farm store, there's many customers, and I'm just not as accessible as if they had shown up, an hour prior when the store was a little quieter. And so I guess what I would say is if you're a vendor that comes to Vernon Family Farm, or if you're a vendor that comes to any other small farm, trying to get your product in, don't stop after the first try. I can't even tell you like how many times I've had the same vendor come, and then finally on the third time, I'm like, yes, I'm ordering butter from you. I need you to bring me butter next week. And it's not because, store employees or farmers are trying to be difficult. It's just that like, as the person behind the counter, we're managing so many different things at one time. And sometimes, we drop one of the balls and we just need you to come back and say, hey, we really want to be in your farm store. I think the idea behind, coming physically to the farm store where you want to sell your product and knowing a little bit about the place where you want to sell your product is also really important. I know that I really value somebody that's coming who has a little bit of an understanding about who we are and what we do and why their product might fit well in our farm store and on our shelf. It shows that you care and that you're invested. And ultimately, if you're invested and we enjoy eating your product is probably going to sell well in our farm store. So we have a really robust selection. Lucky for us, we have had previous farm store managers that have done an absolute beautiful job cultivating relationships for our business. And I have had the pleasure of sort of taking over those relationships that quite honestly were cultivated. So that's a little bit about us in a nutshell and what we do. We try to we try to be, strong advocates, not only of the work that we do, but of the work that our vendors also do by um, sharing their story for them on our social platforms, um, including them in an email news blast. And a lot of times the ordering is happening. Ordering happens in so many different ways with our vendors. Sometimes it's a text message, sometimes it's an email, sometimes it's through a platform like Fair or Mabel, a distributor like Crown of Maine or Provisions. But I think what makes Vernon Family Farm Store really special is even if we're um, purchasing local products through a platform like Fair or Mabel, I have made a great effort to contact those businesses outside of that platform or even like within that platform via the messaging tools that are available. Um, I think when you do that, it just creates, I don't know, like a better connection, I guess, for lack of better words. It creates a better connection. It makes somebody that's in northern Vermont that's sending their product to you excited about the fact that you're reordering. And I think that really matters when you have a connection and a relationship like that, and that vendor feels invested, they are going to start to think more strategically around other products that they have that might also be a good fit for your farm store and help you develop a more robust product line. And I can't tell you how many times this has happened to me where I have a relationship with someone, perhaps I'm only ordering one product from them, and then all of a sudden, they're like, you got to try these other three products that are best sellers for us. I think they'll sell really well for you. I try it and it works. Um, so those are, just some things that have worked well so far in our farm store and some things that we've been proud of. And I'm so happy to have a forum like this, Teresa. Thanks for inviting me and having an opportunity like this, because this morning I did a podcast with a local podcaster, and a lot of his questions were really focused around community building in the store. And one thing that sort of came out of that conversation was actually something that I related back to teaching, which is like most great teachers are great teachers because they're always collaborating with other teachers. And I think if farmers do this more, we'll all become better farmers. Like listening to you, Becky, talk about some of your protocols and your vendor policies and procedures. It's inspiring to hear, and it might not necessarily be something that works for Vernon Family Farm, but it sure is interesting, and it makes me more motivated to come up to your food co-op and check out some of the vendors that you work with, some of the products that you have. Um,
I'm so glad you said that about the collaboration and the relationships of actually like developing a relationship, like tasting the product. We just had our holiday fest this past weekend where we invite local vendors in and like you can pretty much eat lunch going through the store. Everybody's got their samples and stuff, and everybody stands and chats and talks to the vendors, and you get to know the vendors. And so getting to know, the people in the farm store, and probably if they're in the farm store meeting with you, they're also meeting the customers,
mhm.
and that just develops that community building web that is so important to local food systems, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, for we're so invested in the local food scene and in the agricultural scene here in New Hampshire that sometimes we take this for granted. But I think there's something really romantic if you are a customer in a farm store and a small business is dropping off a delivery for your store, or a small farmer is coming in with their product, I think there's something really romantic about seeing that, and also like really important to see that. Like we only have one door at Vernon Family Farm, so everybody comes in and out through that one door. There's no back door where like products are dropped off. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes it can feel like chaotic and unorganized and messy when Crown of Maine has come with a big order and there's boxes everywhere. And I'm like, of course, there's 10 people in the farm store now when this is happening. But I do think you can kind of embrace that level of chaos and sort of like show that off in a way that ends up, just being the uniqueness of that shopping experience.
That's why you're a small farm store.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's the romance in it. That's the
Yeah.
romance. That's the nostalgia. No, it's just plain old good community building, to really see what's going on. We always encourage our customers to meet the farmers. I run a farm tour in the summer and we get them out there. We take them in their farm store and so they can shop in their farm store, and we take them around the farm and they talk to the farmers. And I think developing those relationships are so important. So I'm really glad what you're doing, Nicole, with that relationship.
Yeah. And it's so nice I didn't bring any hard numbers the same way you did. That's, to be honest, like not always my forte. That's my other half's forte and my bookkeeper's forte. But just talking about like different experiences that we've had, and how things feel in the farm store. I think it's important to have a pulse on both of those. It's important to have a pulse on the hard, fast data, but it's also important to have a pulse on like, what does it feel like when you walk into the farm store? Is it cozy? Is it inviting? Um, is it clear? I think there's like one thing that Vernon Family Farm could definitely do better, and this probably just speaks to sort of like management. Like there's really one person managing the entire operation of that. Is like better labeling. Labeling is so hard. Like if the product's labeled clearly, great, but then what's the price? It's a brand new product and it's in square point of sale, but you haven't gotten it on the shelf yet with a price. um Telling the story, like I fall down on this sometimes, but we've got all this beautiful produce in the triple door cooler, and all these beautiful winter squashes. And I'm looking around and I'm like, the strength right now is that every single one of these produce items is either certified organic or grown with organic practices, but that's not labeled anywhere. Like I gotta improve on that because that does matter to many people. One of the sort of bullet point items, Teresa, that you had mentioned was, is certified organic a label that you prioritize in your store? And for us, and I don't know, Becky, if it's something that you guys prioritize, but for us, we're prioritizing the transparency around how that product is grown. So um whether there's an organic certified label on there or not, like I want to be able to share with my customers that I know where this came from. I know who grew it, because my customers are trusting that I have trustworthy relationships with those farmers and those vendors. Um and sometimes that can be done with a label and sometimes that can't be done with a label.
We
So,
do we do label things, especially in our produce department. We have an organic section and a conventional section. And we also, we have a farmer who isn't certified but practices organic. And so we also talk to people about really knowing your farmer,
yeah.
come and meet him when he comes to the store. He's in here like 3 times a week. Um, but yeah, it's with our customers, it's it's important. There's a lot of customers that come in. And so there's some who want only organic, and we have that and we label that. And I can't imagine, I mean, we're a whole store, but you run it sounds that's a lot of product for one person to like label and meet the customers and do you're doing everything. So don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, no, and I don't even mean like any of the, any of the criticism. I don't mean it to I totally understand and I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's a very hard job. Um, but there's always room for improvement. You can always like do certain things differently and but yeah, but if anybody's watching this who is a vendor who has um who grows something or who makes something, whether it's, even like certain crafty items are items that we will sell in the farm store depending, on its season. Um, we have relatively a small footprint, so we have to be really thoughtful about what we're bringing in. But yeah.
We did have a question in the chat. Stefina, I don't want to get your name wrong, was wondering if anyone had their availability list for their wholesale. They'd like to get a template so they could build their own.
Mhm.
So that can be both for the farmers that are here who have a wholesale list, and for you, Nicole and Becky, what are you looking for in a wholesale availability list that a vendor might bring in? What might that look like?
I think I mentioned this before, but like specifically for Vernon Family Farm, we're for the most part a direct to consumer operation. So any of the product that we raise for ourselves primarily is being sold at our farm store. And we have very few wholesale accounts. We have a couple of restaurants that we work with. And at this point right now, we have one other retail location, Gilmington's own, where they will from time to time purchase some of our chicken at a wholesale price. It's not very fancy. It's just a list of cuts that we have and the price per pound and what our case number is. Depending on who's ordering from us, we might have like an order minimum, like if we need to drive an hour away, we're going to make sure that we have an order minimum that works better for us than a delivery fee. So that's specifically Vernon Family Farm products. That's how we do. We just don't grow enough chicken, lamb, pork, or garlic to really be wholesaling all over the state. We also want to be driving customers to our location to get our product. So that's been a little bit of that's been like a delicate balance. What I'm looking for when a vendor comes to me to sell their product in the farm store, I'm looking for their products, the prices of their products, perhaps a description of their products. It's harder, I feel like, for small businesses that are not working on a platform to do this, but something that would be really helpful. And if I were a new vendor, I would consider this, is somehow indicating what your best-selling items are. That's really helpful on platforms like Mabel or Fair. They have that sort of like note, or like if sometimes it's just like an asterisk or something, it says like best-selling item. That's helpful. If there's any ingredients that maybe would make me pause, I'm not necessarily gonna say no right away, but I am going to engage in a conversation around like, oh, why is there this in this product? Because you might have more information as a specialist in your product. You might have more of a robust understanding than I do about why there's corn syrup, for example, in your product. Like I don't necessarily want to have products that have corn syrup in my store, but at the same time, like I don't know, there might be a good reason why. That's not a great example, but you get what I mean. And if there's, so I hope I'm answering your question with just going back to the chat here. That's sort of, those are the things that I'm looking for. Oh, it's also really helpful to know like how you like being communicated with as a vendor. I tend to ask that question right off the bat, but like, are you somebody that checks their email all the time and you're going to receive my order and you're going to reply that you've received my order, or are you not going to reply at all and then just like come on your own terms? Um, I like to, so Vernon Family Farm has the policy of paying our vendors COD. And so for me, it's really important that I know that you're coming to the farm store so that I have budgeted for you to come and for me to be able to write you a check. Um, so those are, I guess, like little pro tips and um, pieces to that answer. I hope I was thorough enough.
Absolutely. Becky, do you have some insight that what Littleton Food Co-op would be looking for in a wholesale availability list?
So I know that they want the pricing, and they'd like to have like a plan. Say if somebody comes and brings in a new product and it doesn't sell at all, are they going to take it back? Are they, what's the plan with that? Like a real transparent plan on for unsold or expired products. They want they do like the ingredients listed, but I don't think they didn't say that on here, but I'm thinking about our products in our grocery aisles that are local have the ingredients on there. Um, and also a description and that kind of stuff. I know in our produce department, as far as invoices when they come in, sometimes they are handwritten. Um, and I also know I'm not sure how all the different buyers do this, but I think there are different methods of email, text, phone calls, and I would imagine that would need to be talked about ahead of time for the same reasons that Nicole said. You know, we always, what are your terms for payment? We usually pay within 30 days or I think or less. Um, and yeah, we write lots of checks to our local producers. Our poor GM has to sit down like for 3 hours and on one afternoon, and all he does is sign checks. It's pretty funny. Um, yeah, just again, like a whole everything that that you'd like to sell and your wholesale pricing um is really important, and that conversation with the department manager to see if there are any other expectations that I don't know about. I'm not a buyer. I just ask lots of questions and try to gather information.
I think one other piece that's not necessary by any means, but really nice is once you do become a vendor in a particular farm store, I think it's really nice for the farm store, either like marketing team or for the owner, whoever you're communicating with, to receive photographs of your products. Because if we have photographs of your products, that means that we can incorporate that again on our social media, on our website. We can incorporate it in an email news blast. And that's going to help, we're elevating your brand as much as we're elevating our own store. Um, so that's also kind of like a nice little touch. Again, not mandatory by any means, but very helpful.
I'm technically in the marketing department, but I don't do the social media. I don't do like the newsletter and all the other platforms that they are on. Um, but I do know that every week we have, our weekly specials, and we're asking the departments to make sure that we know that they're local. So number one, we can use our little local sign. This is a local product because that's really important to our customers. They're supporting local. Um, and it would probably be really helpful to have, you know, a nice little picture of your product. If not, the marketing department goes down and does a nice little picture of your product. But it would be nice not to have to do that.
Yeah, and not even just the product, but the faces behind the product, I think is also really helpful. Um, you know, the whole idea, which is one that I feel like I'm always yelling on the top of my lungs on social media about, and Becky also mentioned, like knowing your farmer means being able to recognize them, and know their name. And the more that you put your face with your product, the more people will recognize that you are their farmer. And that's that goes such a long way. um, I've been doing social media for our family farm now for a little over 11 years. I started doing social media for the farm even prior to purchasing the land that we now steward, that we call Vernon Family Farm. And so many of the people that shop from us have grown up with my whole family. They feel like they know us, they feel like they know my children. And yeah, it's for us, it's only been positive. For us, it's only been um, a really positive experience. So not only a picture of and if you're comfortable, some people aren't comfortable with that. So you got to kind of know your own boundaries. But for us, we've been, really open with some of that. And we've shown not only farm life, but also some touches of personal life.
When you receive a wholesale availability list, do you find it helpful that there would be like a suggested retail price, so that maybe know what the range is for that, or is your markup standard? How does that fit into what a wholesale availability list might look like?
That's why it's so important to talk to the department managers. So what does their margins look like? Um, when I talked to the operations manager about this, that's why it's so important that you realize that if you have your own farm stand where you're also selling your vegetables and you're selling us that product at the same price that you're selling the store, then that's going to sort of undercut people wanting to buy, your product. So we try to work with our local producers to find that happy mix. Like, what do you feel like you need to get? This is where our pricing would be. And we try to work with them to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the price that we're selling it for. And it's different for different departments as far as the margins. It depends.
Yeah, I think it is helpful to have um, a suggested retail price. I think it's also helpful to know where that product. Oh, an ornament just fell off my tree. I think it's also really important to know where those other products are being wholesaled and sold. Um, Sometimes I have found that there have been some products that they're wonderful products, but they're just being sold in too many farm stores too close to ours. And it's not that that product um, doesn't sell well. It's just that that product might not be selling well at our retail location. And so that's another piece of the puzzle that I think is really important. I don't think that necessarily has to be on a product, wholesale list. I think that can just come in a conversation that you're having with the business owner, with the farmer, with the vendor. Um, I think sometimes, and I know the whole idea of like collaborating and sharing, just because we're all using um, similar platforms and distributors doesn't mean that we're all going to have the same products in our farm store. What sells well for Becky might not sell well for me in my farm store. And so I think sometimes I know there have been times in the past where I have been a little reluctant to share like who are the vendors that I'm working with, because I want to keep those vendors sort of at my farm store. But what I'm realizing more and more is that it really doesn't matter. We need to be open and transparent about that, because again, what sells really well at Becky's store might not sell well in mine. So it's been nice to sort of grow out of that. And I think you kind of, the more you're in this game, and you know, the easier and like the more open you become. You know, it's a process. This is all just learning.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And you have to know your customers.
Right.
You have to know if they might, you know, they might not like it or whatever. You know your customers, you talk to them all the time. And in our store, actually, we do talk to our customers all the time as well. It's sort of amazing how many you walk through our store and there's conversations happening all the time with department managers, with employees, customers, especially our cashiers. We're a very friendly store. It's one of the things that people compliment us on because we talk to the customers, and that's another way to figure out, what they like, and it's just good community building.
Yeah.
If you're good at a grocery shop, you might as well have a good experience, by the way.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more with that statement.
So we've talked a lot about your organizations and stores and what you're looking for from farmers and what farmers can provide for you. Now, part of my question is, building a local food system requires stores to be sold. It requires the farmers and how to get things there. And we have a lot of agricultural organizations in the state. How can our organizations strengthen and help coordinate that local food and farming and local food system in New Hampshire by connecting more farmers with stores and stores with farmers, retail outlets and whatnot? What might be something you would, and be great to hear from everybody tonight about their thoughts on that.
It's a good question.
Yeah, no, it is a good
It's
question,
a
and it's
really good question.
a lot of the agricultural organizations in the state are now thinking about this and how can we build that almost the middle of the food chain. Um,
How
and
do you get the word out?
yeah, okay.
You know, things that fly off. We have our exit foyer has um like the Edible New Hampshire, you know, sends us magazines. Anytime NOFA or the Food Alliance sends, something and I put it out there, it flies off the shelf. People really like seeing that. I think it was the food guide that I put out there, the NOFA food guide, and yeah, it would fly off the shelf. And if I only have one copy, I put it in our cafe so that people can, they're eating lunch, they can pick it up and look at it. Um, the more we can, the more that we can talk about the food system and the reason why it's so important in whatever platforms, in whatever social media posts you have, talking with customers. I mean, local food is like really, it's foundational. It's foundational. Nobody's going to do anything if they don't have food. So,
Mhm,
and it's foundational.
mhm.
Jean, you have your hand up. Would you like to unmute?
One of the things I'd like to say is, there's a ton of small farms in the state, and we're really also busy. And I'm not sure where Vernon Farms is, but I don't think you're close to me. Our farm's in Mason, New Hampshire, which is south central. It borders Massachusetts. One of the things is it's just we're too far apart to sell to each other and provide, say my certified organic produce at your farm store. Sounds like you have enough vendors anyway. But so a lot of times it's just it's not worth it to travel 50 miles to make $100. So that kind of thing. I'm a big advocate of the food hubs that do exist in the state. I've been trying to get one going in the eastern Monadnock region for about 10, 15 years now. I can't do it all. Maybe when I retire, I'll have enough, um, time to start that. But anyway, you got to look at the reality of our situation in New Hampshire as farmers, where I couldn't believe it when I saw the statistics that said that we have over 4,000 farms in New Hampshire and that 80% of them gross less than $25,000 per year. So we're a bunch of, what farms do exist here. A lot of small ones, I'm sure the ag commissioner would say we're not, worthy of being paid attention to too much. But, I beg to differ. I think any way we can help each other out, sure, is great. Getting together and talking about stuff. But it's not always practical for me to, drive all over hell and creation to try to sell $100 worth of produce to somebody, that's say up in Manchester or something, like 40, 50 minutes away from our farm. So I think, like I said, I think food hubs, they're much more supportive of the local smaller farms than, say, the co-ops are. They're more willing to buy. I know Kearsarge Food Hub is always my model to fall back on. But yeah, direct to consumer sales saves us in this state, and as well as the current use tax status for small farms. So I would like to see our New Hampshire Department of Ag Markets and Food promote the smaller farms and encourage more people to buy directly from us rather than just, every time some money comes down for COVID relief or a flood that happened in 2023, just hand it out to the bigger farms that they think make a living at farming. So that's an uphill battle, always has been. But I appreciate the conversation tonight. Thank you.
You're very welcome. One of the things New Hampshire doesn't have a lot of that has some that, hopefully maybe through this series will or a winter conference we'll have some more highlights about is farmer collaboratives. And that might be something that could be useful. There's another question, and we're almost at time here, but I'm gonna go ahead to ask is about wholesale pricing and to judging what the right wholesale pricing would be. And I think what you're talking about is like the markup between wholesale and retail. And I think it varies from location. Maybe Becky and Nicole, you can address that, but it's usually somewhere between 30 and 50%, depending on the location, between what your wholesale price is and what the retail price would be.
Yeah, and again, it varies with departments in our co-op store. But the average is about 33%, I believe, to make sure the store continues running and we actually have people in the store to run the store. But it varies with departments and it goes up to 50%.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of what Becky said. That holds true for Vernon Family Farm. I think another thing that, uh, vendors might not necessarily or customers might not think about is how those products are being purchased at the farm store. If you're paying with cash, that dollar is going to go way further for us than if your transaction is happening with a card, whether it's a debit card or a credit card. It doesn't matter. Square Point of Sale is going to take a percentage of that sale. So sometimes, you need to adjust your prices so that that's not eating too much into any minimal profit that you might be making. For us specifically, our chicken wholesale prices are 20% less than our retail wholesale prices. And we fully understand that that's probably not industry standard, but we also aren't really growing an industry standard type of product. So we've just had to make choices that are best for the product that we're growing and raising. So
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank everybody for attending tonight. We are at just a little over time. I wanted to announce the next roundtable, which would be January 16th, same time, third Tuesday of the month. And it is going to be about food aggregators, hubs, and distributors. So we'll hopefully have some folks talking about that in the state and seeing how we can grow that to help farmers and stores and farm stores and co-ops. And again, thank you all for attending tonight.
thank you so much.